This week on CTV, we will be telling you all about the issue of parking on the CSU campus.
After that, we'll let you know all about how this week's weather drop can affect your commute.
Then we will update you on the I-25 closures taking place this week in Fort Collins. All this and more now. Saturday morning saw more traffic-related deaths in Fort Collins, this time involving a pedestrian being hit by oncoming cars. Amanda Hilpert of Fort Collins was walking westbound on Mulberry Street near Timberline, where she was hit by a Honda SUV and then struck a second time by a Chevrolet van with a trailer on the back. Hilpert was reported dead at the scene, according to State Patrol Master Gary Cutler, and is suspected to have been under the influence of drugs or alcohol during the time of the accident. The drivers of the vehicles both stopped after hitting Hilpert. Neither driver sustained any injuries during the accident. And this may unfortunately be the first of more as we have inclement weather coming. More on that, Ren.
That's right, Jake. Fort Collins is preparing itself for its first cold weather of the school year with a chance of snow accompanying it. This week, the temperature is set to drop over 40 degrees from Wednesday to Thursday. And whether it snows or not, be ready for colder commutes coming in the next few days.
Authorities are warning people to expect slower commutes to and from work because of freezing and icy conditions from the snow. The Colorado Department of Transportation will have information on major road closures available on their website.
I'll tell you what, I love the snow. I hate driving in it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the snow, but I don't want to be out in it.
Absolutely.
I'm just ready to start wearing jackets again, man.
That's true.
Earlier this year, authorities arrested a suspect related to a stabbing in the Old Town area of Fort Collins. On Friday, he was sentenced. In August, 34-year-old Skylar King pled guilty to second-degree assault on 23-year-old Curtis Bunce near the intersections of Mason Street and Mountain Avenue. Bunce suffered severe but non-life-threatening injuries and was transported to the hospital. Bunce was said to have been standing with a group of friends when King approached them, stabbed Bunce, and ran away. King was later arrested in his home. King has been sentenced to 6 years in community corrections, and according to court records, he was released on a $7,500 bond.
As construction on I-25 continues, so will the many closures that come with it. Traffic starting tonight. Major shutdowns will begin on I-25. Beginning at 9 p.m. tonight, crews will begin work setting girders on the new Prospect Road bridge over the highway. This construction will result in lane closures both directions. Closures will also be taking place Wednesday night. Lanes will reopen in the morning at 5. All westbound traffic on Prospect Road will be rerouted to North Mulberry Street, and the eastbound traffic will be rerouted to South Harmony Road. If you are planning on traveling during this time, alternate routes are advised. We will have all these updates on road closures as they develop.
Parking on campus can be a frustrating reality for a lot of students and faculty who drive to school every day, but our Parking Services Office does their best to accommodate.
Colorado State University houses a fairly large student body. With faculty added, creating a parking infrastructure suitable to accommodate all who attend CSU is a daunting task. However, some people at CSU are unhappy with the parking infrastructure provided for those who work and attend school on campus every day.
The parking here isn't exactly the greatest.
Many try to find parking along some of the roads on the outskirts of campus. On a typical school day, streets like Howes and Meldrum are filled with parallel parking.
I definitely feel like a lot of the parking is spread out, but to be honest, the parking garages that have shown up around campus have really increased the amount of parking, and I've had easier times finding spots to park in the last couple semesters.
The parking garages have proven to be effective in helping quell parking issues. However, there are better times to park than others, and when the lots are full, it can sometimes take a few laps till a spot opens up. It is best to arrive to campus early if you want the best chances of getting a spot.
I don't think the parking is adequate. That's why you do see a lot of people that bike to campus and ride their skateboards and longboards to campus. It's just because there simply isn't enough parking for 35,000 students here.
The buses are still a viable option to get to class, and if that doesn't work for you, bicycles are another great alternative.
For more information on parking vehicles on campus, you can contact the Parking and Transportation Services Office at 970-491-2017.
All around the country, young people are leading the fight against climate change. And that is no different here in Fort Collins. Here in a town, a group of young people have organized climate strikes that will take place at City Park every Friday at 9 p.m. With the help of the group Sunrise, Fort Collins residents have been able to develop a place for people to go to speak out against climate inaction. Sierra Farnsworth, a sophomore at Rocky Mountain High School and coordinator for the Sunrise Hub, told the Collegian, "We want everyone to be able to be an activist and to be able to speak out and feel comfortable with it." There will be another meeting taking place at City Park this coming Friday at 9 p.m.
The Kind Creation Smoke Shop on College Avenue across from CSU had multiple windows broken in during an attempted robbery Monday night around midnight. 4 juvenile suspects broke 7 windows, however, were unable to enter the store. Store owner Brandon Fink suspects the windows will cost a few $1,000s to repair. Fink says this is the 12th time someone has broken in or attempted to break in since the store opened in 2003. This break-in follows a similar incident that occurred at the Joint Smoke Shop about a week before.
A CSU professor in atmospheric sciences is being awarded for her efforts in helping the environment as well as promoting women in science. Emily Fisher has received the James B. McElwain Medal for her work involving air pollution, which includes the effects of gases and oil emissions, as well as the effects of smoke from wildfires, specifically focusing on ozone problems along the Front Range. Fisher is being recognized for her award at the Geophysical Union Fall Meeting in San Francisco in December. There, she will give a speech at the event, as well as having a panel on mentoring in science and her own scientific journey until this point.
This past Saturday was the 3rd annual Down Syndrome Walk in Fort Collins, an afternoon filled with fun and games for families or individuals that are affected by Down syndrome. This event is a large gathering put on by the Northern Colorado Down Syndrome Association to provide support and connections for individuals and families through advocacy, awareness, and relationships. Taking place at the Anheuser-Busch Beer Garden, the event was filled with families, including children of all ages and pets as well. For more information on the event or the Northern Colorado Down Syndrome Association, different work, and advocacy, visit their website at www.nocodownsyndrome.org.
That's all we have for you tonight, folks.
Stay safe out there and enjoy the rest of this warm weather while you can.
Make sure you get to classes, Rams.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
I'm Ren Wadsworth, and this is your weather forecast on CTV Channel 11. Kicking it off with the weather earlier today, the weather was overcast and chilly. Many students on campus found the temperature earlier today to be comfortable, and some students could even be seen still wearing shorts. As you can see, the leaves have begun changing around campus from a CSU green to CSU gold, or maybe yellow. The weather hasn't been cold enough for the beautiful flowers around campus to begin dwindling off. However, the cool temperatures didn't last long, and the temperatures began rising again as the day went on. Currently it's 66 degrees, and for the past couple hours, the temperature has stagnated in the high 60s. Going into your evening, you can expect very little wind and no chance of rain as that sun sets at just about 6:30. Moving on to tonight's lows, looking at the I-25 corridor, it's going to start at about 40 degrees. If we move on to tomorrow, it's going to hit about 75 degrees, which is just 1 degree lower than our high today. If we look at this side, it's going to be partly cloudy, and that sunset's going to hit just about 6:30 once again. Moving on to tomorrow's highs, it's going to hit about the same. Temperatures aren't going to rise a lot. It's going to be in the low 80s, high 70s. Moving down the I-25 corridor, it's going to be 75 degrees once again in Fort Collins, 78 degrees in Denver, 79 degrees in Colorado Springs. As you move down the I-25 corridor, you're going up in the temperatures, and then it's going to hit that high 85 in Pueblo tomorrow. You can see that reflected in the plain side of the state as well with those temperatures. If we move on to the 5-day forecast, Wednesday, it's going to be 75 degrees once again, just a little bit hotter than it was today, but it is going to be a little bit cloudier than it was today. Moving on to Thursday, I already talked about it with Kenny and Jake earlier in the show, but you're in for a surprise because it's going to drop 41 degrees to 32, and there is going to be a chance of snow, so look out, Rams. Moving on to the week, the temperatures are going to rise steadily, 48 degrees on Friday, but it is sunny, so it's going to feel a lot warmer than it actually is. 61 degrees on Saturday, a little bit cloudy, and then moving farther into that weekend, it's going to be 65 degrees and very, very cloudy. It looks like fall has finally taken up residence in Fort Collins, but you'll have to tune in next week to see if it's going to stay. That's all I have for you today, Rams, but stay tuned because Sydney Wicker and Ethan Bird are going to tackle sports after the break.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes, but with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Welcome back from the break, Rams, and to this week's edition of the Red Zone. I'm Sydney Wicker.
And I'm Ethan Bird, and I'm very excited because today we finally get to talk about something we have not been able to talk about on our show yet, a Broncos win.
Yes, Ethan, the Broncos got their first win of the season, and it was on the road. What is one key thing that you saw from the Broncos that will help them going into this upcoming week?
It wasn't so much anything that happened this week, but it's going to have to happen next week against the Titans. You got to keep those sack numbers up. You've got to produce some sacks. Let's take a look at some of the plays I picked out from this Sunday really quick. There we go. See, we didn't get any sacks, but pressure on the quarterback. This one ended up in a completion from Phillip Rivers, but this is the biggest one to me. The Broncos will line up with a 4-man rush and put pressure on Phillip Rivers, and that'll lead to an interception that kind of turned the tides of the game. And here's another one, pressure on the quarterback that leads to the end of a drive at the end of the game. And the Broncos are really going to have to increase that production in order to be successful against the Titans.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Philip Rivers still had 211 yards against the Broncos passing, so he was able to work in the air a little bit, but he did have 2 interceptions. So the Broncos were able to create a little bit of chaos on that defense, and I think they really need to work on stepping it up and being more aggressive, especially since they're down with Bradley Chubb.
And I think where you saw a little less in the production of sacks was because of Bradley Chubb. But one of the things that I think that Fangio is very good at when it comes to defense is getting young guys in there and getting them motivated to play. And you saw some of those guys on Sunday, and I thought it was really, really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. But my key takeaway is going to be continuing to establish this run game. Looking at the Broncos, Philip Lindsay, he had 141 rushing yards, and Royce Freeman was right behind him with 61 rushing yards. So they were really able to get the ball moving, as we can see right here. Nice run by Philip Lindsay. And they were really starting to work with this offense. We've seen Joe Flacco struggle so much with this offense.
Absolutely.
So I think having that run game truly be established is one step in the right direction.
Well, and one of the biggest things you can look at is the difference between Philip Lindsay's numbers this last week and his numbers 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville. Against Jacksonville, he only had 9 rushes and 53 yards. He never saw a touchdown. This past week, 114 yards and a touchdown. And that just goes to show you that when the run game is going and when Philip Lindsay is at the head of it, Phil is a playmaker, Phil is a game changer, and the Broncos will win games if they trust Philip Lindsay.
Yes, absolutely. But with that being said, you can't trust the run game to win you all of your games. You have to have an effective run game, but you also have to be able to throw the ball and make, a clean offense.
I have to agree with you on that one.
At least we're finally agreeing around
yes,
here.
We'll see what happens at the end of the show, though. That was a big week for the Broncos, but a bigger week for CSU football. After a loss to San Diego State this weekend, head coach Mike Bobo announced that the quarterback position is now open. And yesterday at practice, coach said what he was looking to see.
In practice, and hopefully that'll carry over to the game. I'm not looking to draw it out, this week, but we could go in the game playing more than one guy. I don't know.
Now, the biggest thing to take away from Bobo right here is how much this looks like last year. The rotation between KJ Carter-Samuels and Colin Hill in the 2018 season was just the start of the fall for the Rams.
We told them both were going to play. I decided to make a change, and both of them did some good things. Both of them did some bad things, and we got to have guys help them make catches. There'll be competition at that position. There'll be competition at every position, and we'll figure out who's going to start going forward.
Listening to Bobo talk last year versus to what he just said this year, I find it really interesting that at this point in the season, both last year and right now, they were 1-4 on the season. So not much has changed for the CSU team in the past 2 years.
Well, it's almost like deja vu, except this time it hurts a little bit more because of Colin Hill. And I know I said it last week, but I'm going to say it again this week. The Rams were just way too dependent on Colin Hill's health. He had already torn his ACL twice. They're like concussions. You're more likely to tear it again the more you tear it and the longer you go. And that should have been something that Mike Bobo was planning for. And right now, it feels like it wasn't planned for at all, because Patrick O'Brien, he put up a lot of numbers, but this last week, he did not look like the guy to lead the Rams. And then Justice McCoy comes in, he throws 2 interceptions. So this feels worse than the point we were at this time last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, Colin Hill was coming off of his injury, but now this year, we just see a quarterback carousel. What's going to happen between these quarterbacks? How is the offense going to be effective? Last year when Bobo was talking, he was saying that he was so disappointed in his team's performance and that they weren't looking good. Then they went on to take on San Jose State, which they barely beat. They let them come back in that third quarter of that game last year. And then they barely beat New Mexico 20-18. They have New Mexico this week coming up. I don't know how it's going to be much different for the Rams this year than how it was last year.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. This game against New Mexico is as up in the air as any game that we've seen this year. And that's because of the quarterbacks. If you don't have a solid quarterback, who is going to lead your team? Who's your team going to trust? Who are the fans watching the game going to trust? Because if you're a fan and you're watching 2 different quarterbacks, throw passes throughout the whole game. You don't even know what's going on. The team doesn't even know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Bobo is making a huge mistake here because when you have this quarterback carousel, it's making its rounds and it's confusing your offense. Who does the offense trust? Who do those wide receivers get in sync with? There is no connection when you're constantly changing your offense and you're constantly changing your quarterback. So I don't know if this is really going to be effective for CSU. We'll really have to see how it goes this weekend.
That we will. We're all looking forward to Saturday. Well, now, the 15th ranked CSU Rams are hosting Fresno State at home. And of course, we have this week's volleyball watch list. So who do we have to look out for, Sid?
Yeah, so coming in for the Bulldogs, their outside hitter, Desiree Sukov, is leading Fresno State with 241 kills. She is tied for set points with 57, and she's leading her team in errors, though. So Suhawk could either be a huge advantage or she could really hurt her team going into this game against the Rams.
And next up for me, we've got Brianna Reynolds. I mean, how could we not talk about her? She got her 1,000th kill in a Rams uniform back on the first against Wyoming. And in that game, as you can see, she had 29 kills in that game. That's a career high. She also got 30.5 points. That's a season high with 200 kills and 87 digs. Brianna Reynolds, as always, will be an absolute force to be reckoned with.
Oh yeah, Brianna Reynolds is incredibly difficult to shut down. She's so tall, she's so effective, and she's so strong. The way she hits the ball and is able to put power into the team, she is a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, could very well be one of, if not the best athlete on this campus. And it has been so fun to watch her play. But looking at Saturday, when the Rams host San Diego State, CSU is going to need to look out for Victoria O'Sullivan. The outside hitter for the Aztecs has 204 kills, 31 blocks, and is hitting at a pretty impressive 26.7% on the season. The Rams are going to have to slow her down in order to beat San Diego State.
Absolutely, and for the Rams, Katie Oleksak now has 529 assists this season. She's helped her team with 75 set points, and she's not only been a key for the Rams on the court, but she's also been a leader for them this season. Oleksak is a very dangerous opponent and someone you should always look out for when you're getting ready to match up against CSU.
Well, I think what was fun is we both highlighted two very offensive players.
Yeah.
But as of now, CSU is second in the nation in blocks per set and at 3.08, and also opponent hitting percentage at 1.05. So what that means is that throughout this whole season, CSU's opponents have only been hitting 10.5% whenever they attempt a kill. And defense wins championships, and that's what this Rams team is doing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This Rams team is so effective offensively and defensively. And these next two games they have coming up, I mean, they struggled a little bit when they were in Wyoming. Wyoming's a hard place to play, especially when you have the border war on the line. But they did go to 5 sets there, and then 4 sets against Air Force. They dropped both of those first sets in the beginning. So it'll be really interesting to see how this Rams team kind of bounces back and if they can get another sweep like they've been doing.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't expect it to happen because they're at home. And Rams play best at home. And finally, Rams, it is time for Tell Me I'm Stupid. So, Sydney, please tell me, am I going to be calling you stupid this week?
Well, Ethan, I don't know, but I know you're very passionate about baseball. So, Ethan, I think the MLB season is just way too long.
Oh, Sydney.
Way too many games. It's way too long.
Sydney.
No,
How could there ever
me.
be too much baseball? Come on. Of course I'm going to tell you you're stupid here. I mean, it kind of hurt to watch 162 games of Rockies baseball this year. Wasn't the best. However, baseball is just the best time of the year. You've got the summer. It's warm. There's baseball. I'll say it again. There's baseball. So how could you not want 162 games of baseball? Yeah, it feels a little bit long, but, I mean, that just means you're a fake fan, I guess.
I mean, baseball has never been my favorite sport, but 162 games, really? That's much more than any other team plays. This is why football, to me, doesn't get as boring because there's only once a week you get one game for your team, and it's just not as much. I feel like it just takes out part of the fun and can really exhaust the players, and that's part of what we've seen from, especially the Rockies this year. It's been a lot of sloppy play. I know you're a fan of them.
Sloppy play. It's America's pastime. Of course, we have a lot of games.
Well, Rams, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you this week. But to stay updated on sports throughout the week, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at sports_CTV. I'm Sydney Wicker.
And I'm Ethan Bird, but don't go anywhere because we have Maddie Steele, who's filling in for Janae Hancock. But don't worry, she has all the gossip on the Kylie Jenner and Travis Scott breakup. And I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm Team Trav.
No, Kylie all the way. Come on.
Well, whatever. Entertainment's coming up next.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
What's going on, Rams? And welcome back. My name is Maddie Steele, and as I'm here to give you the 411 on all things entertainment. So let's get started. As you all know, last week was homecoming here at CSU. The week was filled with memories, laughs, and plenty of activities. One of these festivities include the CSU annual tradition, the homecoming parade.
Several people gathered for CSU's homecoming parade, but this year will hold a special place in the hearts of many because it was the 150th, where people cherish the familiar and recognize the changes on campus.
Everyone looks so young.
I know.
And campus is changing so much. We were just commenting about the traffic and just getting around town before. It was easy to get around Fort Collins when we were here.
This annual tradition is one many look forward to, including students, faculty, alumni, and even future Rams.
Right. The band's always super fun, super energetic, and well, I mean the floats. I mean you can tell some of the kids really put floats.
Especially construction management float was really fun.
Only because there wasn't a restaurant anymore at management float, or it would have been better.
What? Family rivalry?
Full of tradition and excitement, this homecoming parade reassured Ram pride for many.
They do sing "I'm proud to be a CSU Ram" quite a bit. So.
It was such a great feeling to see students, staff, CSU alumni, and future alum filled with so much happiness last week. Considering the fact that this year's homecoming was CSU's 150th birthday, I'd say that was one of the best birthday parties I've been to. And speaking of good vibes, X Golf in Fort Collins is offering all that and more upcoming weekend. Friday, October 11th, CSU football plays New Mexico. The alumni-owned X Golf Event Center wants CSU Rams to know this is the place to entertain yourself during the game. The Event Center plans to broadcast the game on one of the big golf simulator screens, and the night will be filled with drink specials throughout the game, and food will be available. Well, Rams, you know what time it is. I'm here to talk all about the top entertainment stories on your social media feed. So let's get into the tea of three. At number 3, lip kit Kylie Jenner and rapper Travis Scott confirmed their temporary split from one another at the end of last week. But not too long after Kylie was spotted at the same studio and nightclub as her ex, Tyga. And this is how social media responded. Social media is like the friend everyone always needs. If you need a laugh, literally just scroll down your feed. But in all seriousness, their fans are hoping for the couple to reunite for their daughter Stormy Webster. Personally, I don't want them to be disappointed in her parents like this video. At number 2, this At number 2, this guy isn't the news for first pumping, turnpiking, and arguing with Sammy Sweetheart anymore. In fact, Jersey Shore's Ronnie Ortiz Margot was ordered to stay away from the mother of his daughter, Jen Harley, according to the E! News. If you've been keeping up with Jersey Shore's family vacation show, you know Ronnie and Jen have been on again, off again, and again. Well, now Ronnie is under emergency protective order after he was arrested for allegedly kidnapping and getting into a physical altercation with his girlfriend, who was actually holding their 1-year-old daughter at the time. That's terrifying. But on a brighter note, at number 1 this week, the romantic co-stars in the movie The Last Song have officially called it quits. And if there was ever a chance of Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth getting back together, I'm thinking it's slim to none now. Miley Cyrus has been spotted with Caitlyn Carter and Cody Simpson since the breakup. But how does her once half feel about her moving on so quickly? Liam broke his silence on Instagram, saying, "I wish her nothing but happiness going forward." I have to say, I'm sad. I connected with Miley when she made the song If We Were a Movie as Hannah Montana. I believed in their relationship. Now that I don't believe, tweet Janae whether you think Miley and Liam will get back together. But that is all I have tonight, Rams. Tune in to CTV tomorrow for local beats, and for Janae will be here on Tuesday with the 411 on all things entertainment. Good night.